Hi everyone. We are here to look at the week ahead, running from the 22nd to the 28th of September 2025. I'm starting slightly different. I've got my tabs on the table, right? I'm starting slightly differently than usual because there's a couple of things that I want to say. First is, as some people commented on the fact that there wasn't an Energies of the Week video last week. There actually was. I actually recorded it. I uploaded it to YouTube, but then I sat on it and I wasn't sure whether to release it or not. Primarily because of this, because I found myself rendered speechless by the level of extremism that the week before last, the events of the week before last, and the reactions to it had caused. Emotional tensions were running very, very high, and I was aware of that. I was affected by those, and although I resolutely refused to come down on one side or another over anything, Mars and Libra, right? Because I refused to be essentially coerced into having an opinion straight away. I believe in the power of thinking slowly. Right? I don't think slowly about a lot of things, but in order to think about things properly, you have to take your time. And I did not like the way everything was, as it is nowadays. Everything was everybody was jumping in with an opinion, and now a week, 2 weeks down the line, we have 27 different fucking things that are going on simultaneously to do with Charlie Kirk. We also have all of the things that happened at the same time that nobody's really paying any attention to because everybody's focusing on this over here. And I like to step back. Now, if I don't have something valuable to add to a situation, if I don't feel like my opinion in that moment is going to be useful, I'm not going to give it. So I made the video, but then I sat on the video trying to decide whether I was going to release it or not, because the extreme nature of the responses on all sides of the divide is something that I find highly fucking problematic. And we're being psy up to fuck somewhere. I can't work out where, but somewhere. And every single one of us is subject to this. Every single one of us is subject to some sort of propaganda somewhere, no matter what side you are sitting on. And it is this side, it's the division, it's the tribalism that I'm finding really fucking problematic at the moment. And if we can accept that we are all subject to propaganda, and we can look at one side and say, well, no wonder they think that, right? I'm seeing dehumanization on a level that I thought I would never witness in my lifetime, and I'm seeing it. I don't fucking like it at all, and I refuse to participate in it. That said, I found myself profoundly emotionally affected by what happened. And until I work out my feelings, I don't wish to speak on them. That's the thing. There was an old saying that said fear sells newspapers, right? So all these salacious headlines that you used to get in newspapers in the 80s, in the 90s, in the 2000s, right? For those of us who are old enough to remember fucking newspapers that don't really exist anymore, right? They would always present the worst case scenario of anything. Because when people were afraid, they bought the newspapers to see what, to be told essentially what to think about it, what to be afraid of this week. The modern day version of that is the internet, is the 24-hour news cycle, is social media. And I wholeheartedly reject the idea that I should be told what to fucking think by anyone. I want to see facts and facts alone. But there has been such emotional intensity that I fear it is corrupting people's thinking skills. Okay? And I don't want to be a part of that. And nevertheless, being extremely emotionally affected by what had gone on, I had to recognise that I was in that space and I needed to process my emotions. I needed to work through, what it was that was troubling me. And so, choosing to sit on the video. Sorry, my let's turn the fucking camera. I swear to God, today has just been a nightmare. My camera's just shut down because the internal temperature is too high, even though it's not that hot in here. Anyway, I wanted to take the time to work out what I actually think is important, and not be fucking told what it is by anyone, right? So I made the video, and my video is always a plea for balance, a plea for not losing sight of the fact that we have so much more in common with each other than we do with people who are running media networks and, you know, people who are rage baiting. Your attention, your clicks are turning into ad revenue for someone, and the equation is as simple as that. And I think it's something that we should all be fucking aware of at this point, right? So I sat on it for a few days, and then I was just, you know, as happens with me fairly often, like I blink and a week goes by, and suddenly here we are again, and we're in a new week, right? So that video exists. If anybody wants to see it, I'm more than happy to show it to you, but I did not feel like it was, I was kind of sat on the fence as to whether it was beneficial, whether actually anything that I was saying was going to fall on the right ears at this point, because you know, maybe it was the eclipses, right? But the eclipse energy is so fucking strong, and it's so crisis riven that people feel like they need to do something, they need to act. People don't think, they don't process their emotions first. It's reaction, reaction, reaction. And I don't think that that's helpful. So, like I said, the video is there. Let me know if you want to see it. I will put it up. If not, fair dues. The second thing, I've left these cards on the table because I was already doing the videos, so I was about 40 minutes in to that for the energies of the week, and my fucking power went off. Like, there was a power cut, and I don't know why. Because I record on OBS, it doesn't record as it doesn't save as it records. If the power goes off before I've pressed stop recording on here, it doesn't save the file. So I've got a little icon with a VLC fucking traffic cone on it, which is the corrupted file of my recording. These were the cards that came out. Clearly this is not the message that you need to hear this week. So in the interests of transparency, I wanted to show you that they were there, and that this is attempt number 2. We'll be able to see whether the message is broadly the same or whether it's different. Interestingly enough, my eldest daughter contacted me in a panic about something in the 5-minute period where the power was off. So I don't know if her emotional state shut off my power. That's entirely possible with my eldest daughter. And if the message ends up coming out broadly the same, interesting, then we'll know that that was probably my daughter's fault. If it comes out different, then that's what it is. Like, ultimately, I'm just a fucking messenger, and sometimes, even in the moment, the message shifts, it changes into something else, you know? So, let's go 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. So the cards for this week are the Knight of Cups, the Queen of Pentacles, and the Two of Swords. This is interesting because they're different cards, but it's a similar kind of message. The difference is, though, is the point of focus, I think. Let's have a look and see what's on the bottom. We've got the 10 of Wands. Yeah, okay. So I can see how this is kind of the same, but it's kind of different too. Because the thrust of the message, the last cards that I pulled out there, was that I was talking about the tension of opposites, right? Now, that, you know, there's a very fairly obvious application for that, the tension of opposites between sides, right? You know, the left side, the right side, the, you know, whatever it is, good and evil, which I think is a word that I'm hearing bandied around quite a lot at the moment on both sides of the divide on different things. And I was talking about, you know, Jung's position that we should attempt to hold the tension of opposites so that a third way may emerge, and that third way being the middle way and the way of higher consciousness than what we're currently wrestling with, what's being effectively and fucking posed on us. I can't stop my expletive infixation. I seem to be doing it a lot. Like, it's very, very difficult to do what I am suggesting is necessary for us to do. And we've got the reactionary energy of the Knight of Wands, as we saw before, versus the more static, stable energy, or rather the, you know, potentially the fixed, rigid thinking of the King of Pentacles. And then we had the Five of Swords, which is saying, actually, nobody knows what the fucking truth is. Everybody's just trying to get one over on each other. You know, we've got Mars has moved into Scorpio this week, and so vengeance, you know, as a concept, a particularly low vibration version of what Mars in Scorpio can be, but nevertheless seems to be a version of that energy that is coming to the fore. It's really important to resist that. It's resisting the need to be right no matter what, which is what we see with the Five of Swords, right? As well as all of the you know, the disruptive and chaotic energy of the five being applied to the swords, the thinking, the communication, right? So we've got these different cards out here. We've got the Knight of Cups, which is Pisces. We've got the Queen of Pentacles, which is Capricorn. And then we have the Two of Swords. Interesting that we've got a Swords card to end here. And it's the Two of Swords. It's more... what do I want to say? Because this talks about willful ignorance for me, because it talks about the things that we deliberately blind ourselves to. This is usually a subconscious thing that happens, right? But we are obfuscating some part of what is really important in making the decision whenever the Two of Swords comes up. What we've got is very blinkered communication, very blinkered assessment of facts, very blinkered assessment of perspectives, and particularly those perspectives that are not ours. In fact, you know, it is there's my way and my way alone. But what the Two of Swords tells us is that we will always end up in this place of stasis where nothing really is moving forwards. And from there, what we need is the Three of Swords to kind of run through this cognitive stasis, this emotional stasis, to present us with the truth. Now, I think if it's one thing that we can say is the truth is fairly fucking thin on the ground at the moment. Very fucking thin on the ground. And like I said at the beginning, we're being psyoped somewhere. I don't know how. I have some ideas as to why. And all of this creates this state where we can see nothing other than what we think. There's so much fucking danger in that position, I cannot even fucking tell you. Now we've got the Ten of Wands at the bottom of the deck here, and it does feel like things are at breaking point. I'm not sure that they are, though. Here's the thing. I don't feel like there's going to be any de-escalation in the level of energy that we are experiencing at the moment. I feel like this is a consistent state that we're going to experience from now through to February next year. There are a number of things that are happening in February next year. We're going to have Saturn moving back into Aries, and we're going to have that Saturn-Neptune conjunction at 0 degree of Aries. I mean, this is going to change everything. This is a game changer. So between now and then, we have a lot of things that are breaking down. We have a lot of things that are ending. We have a lot more chaos, I think, to experience before the shiny new world order, whatever that may be, whatever that may look like, really comes into public consciousness. And I feel like for the most part, we're going to want to reject it. The question is how much fucking damage gets done between now and then, right? Because, problem, reaction, solution is the Hegelian dialectic. There are a lot more problems, I think, that are going to be caused by this division and this active and willful participation in division, rather than choosing to hold the tension of opposites and try and find that third way through. Now, the Hegelian dialectic will tell us then that, so many problems will be caused. The government, the elites, the rulers, whoever will step in with the solution, right? And by the time that happens, by the time that people are begging for some sort of solution to it, it's going to be too late to see that we have been kind of funneled down this road, right? So this 10 of Wands, where everything feels too much at the moment. What if this was the new baseline normal, people? What do we do to combat that? What do we have under the 10 of Wands? I think the less said about that, the better, frankly. But it's kind of adding some credibility to the point that I am trying to make here. What if the 10 of Wands was the new baseline normal? How do you counteract that? How do you find peace in that? How do you refuse to be an active participant in everything that is leading to that? I'm not trying to scare you, but I am trying to impose upon you the incredible importance of everybody doing what is theirs to do right now. And in the first instance, what is yours to do is find a place where you can look after yourself, right? First and foremost, the Queen of Pentacles is for me the card of self-care. I feel like during this eclipse season, we have had emotional, spiritual, maybe even physical health compromised by things that have gone on. I'm not just talking about Charlie Kirk, I'm talking about everything around that, but I'm talking about the other things that have been going on too. So 86 million people in Southeast Asia are kind of having a bad time at the moment, for example. There has never been a more important time to take care of your physical health, your mental health, your spiritual health, your emotional health. And to do that, I feel, is going to, at least to some degree, have us putting up some pretty fucking strong boundaries around what it is that we choose to engage with, right? We understand the value of ourselves, I would hope, right? We've been here for a while, we've been working with ourselves for a while. But understand the value of your attention, understand the value of your focus, understand the value of your emotional energy and the extent to which it is being not only farmed from you right now for fucking ad revenue, for clicks. That's why these algorithms are amplifying rage bait. And understand that if you withdraw that, if you focus on cultivating a state of peace for yourself, if you focus on what is yours to do, and trust me, like this place of peace that we're really thinking about this week, like nothing and no one else is going to give that to you. This is your responsibility. And when we're talking about the Queen of Pentacles, when we're talking about Capricorn, we're talking about Saturn, which is in the sign of Pisces, right? Finishing up something in Pisces. One might say finishing out the old cycle altogether. But we're getting ready for the new world, right? It's coming whether we like it or not. And the question is, how well prepared are you going to be to, I think, when the time comes, be able to say, no, I'm not doing that. Bearing in mind what's coming down the pike. At a time when everything feels so stressful, like it's overwhelming, when the energies are this strong, when I genuinely do believe that we are being forced into a new baseline that feels like CPTSD. If you know anybody with CPTSD, you'll understand that their baseline is just stressed all the time. Right? It's hypervigilant. It's not going to take very much for people to fall into a highly reactionary state when their baseline is hypervigilance. So how do we pull back from the Ten of Wands? How do we pull back from this state of absolute breaking point? Social media will not do it for you. The media will not do it for you. The government will not do it for you. Like, I can't stress this point enough. This is for you to do. If there is one thing that is your work between now, the day that I am recording this, and February next year, it is to cultivate that state of peace. It is to refuse to be drawn into this Ten of Wands. And I understand that that's counterintuitive when it feels like everything is breaking down. But how many times have I said, for 6 years, the stability and the security that you seek, it's inside of you. It is not outside of you. We are being told what to think. We are being told how to feel. Everything in my body rejects that. It's wrong. And I don't often come down with equivocal statements like that, but I really do feel it right now. It is wrong. The dehumanization, the extremism that I am seeing right now, it is 100% wrong. I've seen very big people in the astrological space who are allowing politics to lead spirituality, when really the two have nothing to do with each other. We are all points of attention in an infinite awareness. We are the universe experiencing itself. And what is ours to do is to withdraw our attention from that which would harvest it. Like, I have a problem with authority. I've always had a problem with authority. I've been better in the past, though, at hiding it. I'll come across as quite respectable, but genuinely, tell me what to do, and I'm going to do something else. I believe the modern parlance for it is oppositional defiance disorder or something like that, right? I've had it since I was a kid. And it's made my life very difficult. I think I've tempered it somewhat in my older age, because if I can see the sense in doing the thing that I've been told to do, then I'll do it. If I don't see the sense in it, I won't, and I can't make myself do it. I can't. Now, last week, I was aware that I was highly fucking emotional, and my critical thinking skills were fighting back. They were trying to, but I was still overwhelmed with the amount of emotion that was going around. It was like it was a fucking crushing emotional wave. And for some people, that felt very positive. For other people, it felt very negative, right? It doesn't matter. It was just overwhelming. And I knew there was a story being created. There was a narrative being created that was wanting me to feel a certain way, to think a certain way, and I refuse. Oppositional defiance disorder, right? Because I understand the value of doing things the way that I do them, for me. I want you all to start thinking about the value of the way that you do things for you this week. It's really important. Like, I think that this is homework that we are going to be working on for the next 5 months at least, because we need to be in a state where we have not been corrupted by the incessant, non-stop psychological operations and propaganda. We are not unwitting pawns in a war. This state that we're being pushed to is deliberate, and it doesn't matter where you sit, you're being pushed to a state. I don't like being manipulated, and I feel like we're all being manipulated right now. I'm kind of allergic to it. Knight of Cups. The Knight of Cups is Pisces. It's the last sign of the zodiac. It talks about acceptance. We are being pushed into a state where we feel like we have to act immediately on things that we reject. But I feel like a lot of it's distraction, and I feel like we're passively accepting other things that we should be actively rejecting. I mean, this may well come down to a kind of self-discipline that we need to develop around what is ours to do, what is ours to focus on. Wow. We've got the Moon. We've got the Five of Pentacles. Got the Strength card reversed. We are being led down a path of active disempowerment. And it's shady as fuck. People, it's shady as fuck. It feels like on a lot of levels humanity is regressing. And it's regressing because our subconscious is what's being spoken to. Our subconscious is being manipulated, and our conscious mind is following. And the problem with this is that it's a zero-sum game, the way that this plays out. If it continues on this road, it is a zero-sum game. But that's not what humanity is supposed to be about. It's not what consciousness is supposed to be about. The elevation of consciousness. You know, I did a class on the negative cards in the tarot, and I pointed out that the polarity of good, bad, dark, light, you know, it plays out within each individual fucking card. The negative cards are not simply, you know, the opposite of the positive cards. Like, that duality exists within every single fucking card. And I feel like that's true of humans too. I read the Gulag Archipelago when I was about 21, something like that. And I became a big fan of Solzhenitsyn. I can't say his name properly, but thereafter, because as a student of the human fucking condition, like, he got a lot of things. He came out with an awful lot of quotes that were, you know, excellent as observations on the human condition and human consciousness and how it works and all that kind of thing. And he said, you know, you will never truly understand evil if you see it as something that is outside of yourself. What did he mean by that? Because we all have the capacity to do things that are wicked. We all have a fucking shadow. We all can respond from a place of base interests. And he was speaking as the survivor of a regime that literally was predicated on an us and them. If you're not us, then you're them, and you're the enemy. Now, Mark Passio has an amazing presentation. I don't know what you think about Mark Passio. Some people find him pretty abrasive. He is a former Satanist, so he's not for everyone, but he speaks from a place of having seen the other side of stuff. And he says the true evil in the world, and I cannot agree with him more strongly than I do. True evil in the world is the order followers. It's not the psychopaths who are in charge. It's not the people that have the idea for the propaganda that they're going to churn out. Because without the acquiescence, without the acceptance, without the passive consumption and the getting on board with that people do of that message, of those ideas, of those ideologies, without the order followers, it would make no difference. It would just be one psychopath screaming into the void. When it comes to the highest vibration of all, which I consider to be truth, not love, but truth, everything comes down to consent. Do you consent to be put into this state? Do you consent to screen off truth because it isn't convenient? Do you consent to be told what to believe? Do you consent to being told what to feel? Most people don't think about it in these terms. But I really think that we need to start doing that. Because there are many things that have happened in the last 5 years, and there are going to continue to happen, where we can withdraw our consent from it. And there is a power in that. You can look to yourself as your own internal moral compass and act from that place, not from what everybody else is doing, not from what everybody else is saying, not from what everybody else is telling you what to feel. And not from this place of epic dehumanization. Not from this place of extremism. And most people would not consider themselves to be extremist. Why everybody else thinks that? How could it possibly be extreme? From being really, really young, like tiny, I had anyway, I'm autistic as fuck, right? So whatever I get interested in, it becomes a special interest, right? And I devour everything that I can fucking find about it. And I've always had a dubious political ideology shelf. That's what I call it, right? And there's communism stuff in there, and there's fascism stuff in there, and Nazi Germany was very interesting, and communist Russia was very interesting. But what drove it? The thing that really fascinated me the most was, how do you mobilize millions of people to do things that are wrong? the things that we know inherently to be fucking wrong, to take life, to torture people, for the ends to justify the means. People, you are living through that as a project. You're living through it right now. Honestly, I think the West has been being psyoped for 50, 60 years at least. Look into the hippie movement. Look into the MK Ultra shit that was going on there. Like, and you know, Saturn and Jupiter are occupying almost exactly the same place in the fucking sky that they were in the 60s. History is literally fucking repeating, unless you choose to understand the value of your attention. To understand the value of not passively accepting, not passively consuming, not accepting some things that you're told to accept, and then ignoring other things. Like, I might be being on a huge old fucking rant here, but I can see our emotional, spiritual, physical health being reprogrammed. I can see it happening right in front of us, and I don't like it. We're standing at a crossroads. Free will, consent is right in the fucking middle of it. I'm sorry if I sound strong, if I sound like I'm being very fucking intense, but like, understand where we are right now. We get through this together. What we are experiencing right now, what is being overseen right now, is an expedited, managed decline of the West. Right? So you look at what's happening in the UK with, you know, problematic stuff that's going on in there. That everything that could be needed to deal with that situation already exists. The legislation exists. The legislative framework exists. The judicial framework exists. It's not being utilised properly. I'm sure there are examples happening in the States too. We are being pitted against each other, and people are falling for it. And I'm not judging the people that are falling for it. This is a plea to start guarding what is most precious. It's to start using your consent or withdrawing your consent. Looking for the things that unite us rather than the things that divide us, because we are at a crossroads. And I think we're sat here until February next year. It is down to us to choose. If you only spend your time consuming information that agrees with your standpoint, you're cutting yourself off from the truth. If you don't spend the time considering things from other people's perspective, you are cutting yourself off from the totality of the truth. If you can't see what unites you with someone else over what divides you, you're falling into the trap. I think we've got a busy fucking 5 months or so ahead of us. But I feel like that busy 5 months or so is about internal work. It's about finding ways to come together. Am I being a middle-aged hippie? I don't think so. Is there a lot of fucking grief in the world? Yeah, there is. Are there a lot of problems that have been created? Yes, there is. I think where we are right now is the accumulation of 50 years concerted creeping breakdown that has been engineered. So for the first time on mainstream television, the Fabian Society is being talked about. If you haven't heard of them, you should maybe go look them up. You are so important. You all are so important. Because you have it within you, every single one of you, to aim for this instead of this. To refuse to allow your baseline normal to be the 10 of Wands. Find the beauty in the world, find the commonality in the world, find the things that are yours to do, the things that you can affect, the things that you can affect. We're being drained of our free will. We're being drained of our consent, and it's being done deliberately. And the result is that we are, at this point, almost goose-stepping towards a zero-sum game. And it's not going to be one side winning over the other. It's going to be a tremendous fucking loss for humanity. Unless we understand our power. We understand the power of our consent and the removal of our consent. We don't have very long in the grand scheme of things to start working on this, but it has to start here. And for some of you, that's going to look like the self-discipline to put your phone down in a different room and not touch it for the day. To not allow your nervous system to be hijacked. To not doom scroll, to not listen to the news. To take the time to be interested in other people. Not bouncing around inside these echo chambers that have been created. Because the echo chamber, devoid of any external information, and the external information is any perspective other than yours, any perspective that doesn't agree with yours, means you don't have all the information. Like, I don't want to rant on all day. Like I said, this is the second time I'm making this video, but I mean, I think the difference between this one and the one that corrupted, and even the one that I did last week is the intensity with which I feel the significance of the fucking moment, and not in the way that we're being told. And so I implore you, I beseech you, don't fall prey to it. Go outside, sit on the grass, strike up a conversation with someone in the shop. Do something. Choose connection over division. Don't allow yourself to be a passive weapon. Right, I'm gonna go. Sorry about this camera situation here. Just having one of those fucking days, I think. Alright. Know that I love you all very, very much. I'll see you soon.